Okay, let's start by going around the table, and I'm going to ask each of you to tell me your full name.
My name is Doreen Pine. I married Lesage in 1954.
All right.
I was born October 8th, 1936.
Okay.
Daniel Lois Pine, or Louis Piner.
No, it's Lewis,
Named after my
Lewis.
uncle.
And when were you born, Dan?
1932,
1932.
September the 4th, yeah.
All right. And
Geraldine Loretta Pine Kitts, and I was born 1934.
and
And he was born in 32, so I was born in 30.
and your full name.
Oh, Betty Lou Pine Graubarger.
Okay. Just so we get the foundation for this. So what was your parents' name?
Loretta, her maiden name was Lancor, and she was born in the United States, and my dad, Dan Pine.
How far back do you remember as far as your family is concerned, beyond your father and mother and your grandparents? How far back do you remember?
Just when I was a child playing outside, we never played in the house like kids do now with computers and all this technology stuff and that, but we were always playing outside.
Now, were your parents and your grandparents, were they originally from here too, or did they come from somewhere else?
Mother came from Superior, Wisconsin.
Oh.
Yeah, actually, it was Little Fork, Wisconsin, where she first, and then went to Superior, Wisconsin, and then come to Sugar Island, Michigan, and met my dad
So your father's originally from
Garden River.
Garden River, but they met on Sugar Island.
Yeah.
They were there because he played the fiddle. He was a musician. And so him and two of his friends, of course, were hired to go and play at the school on Sugar Island. They were having a celebration of a sort there, square dancing and everything. And so, of course, my mother comes walking in. My dad is sitting, where the musicians play. So he said to his friend that was sitting next to him, he said, he said, I can't take my eyes off that girl. He said, he said, I'm going to marry her. That's what he said. Yeah.
You hadn't
So
even met her yet.
Eh?
You hadn't even met her yet.
No, but they got acquainted, yeah, because she was just wait, no, she was living in Sugar Island, and they did get acquainted. Okay.
It was a box social. So they had to
Yeah,
have
box
lunch
social.
together.
Yeah, that's right. You know what? Because his friends, like say, knew that he really wanted to, he wanted to buy that lunch, you see, so he could meet her. So, mind you, they made him pay $27 for that lunch.
That must have been a lot of money.
Yeah.
That was a lot of money back then.
Wow.
Yeah. But see, our dad, he was a pretty good pitcher, and he earned pretty good money. Yeah, he pitched for the Chicago Cubs.
Wow.
Yeah, and
He was in the paper many times.
and he pitched here to what do you call that place?
Montreal, Toronto, all
Sudbury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he was really very well known.
And
Very.
he was supposed to go to Chicago, but the Indian agent had him deported. He violated the Constitution of Canada, United States, and my dad could have sued him. But I think he committed suicide when they got a lawyer and everything.
Wow. Now, your mom and dad, they moved down then to Garden River to begin their family, start their family?
We were all raised
yeah.
here.
My dad never moved here. He always lived here.
Okay.
His mom and dad was John and John Shingwalk, of course, and his mother was Cecilia. Her maiden name was Shawan, and she came from Underwood.
Walpole Island.
No.
That's where she was born.
Redicago,
Drummond's Island.
Mima.
Drummond's
She was
Island.
born in Walpole Island. That's where she was born.
Well, okay, but
Because
she.
my great grandmother came from up in Manitoba,
Oh.
and they all moved down with all their families, and some of them moved to Michigan, so Nolans, and there was Lewis's, and there was Days, and there was Savors. All them, my grandma's relatives were all Souliers. They all came from up there.
Wow.
Well, our dad is the youngest grandson of Chief Shingwak. And I don't know how many of you know, but Chief Shingwak is the one that wanted education here for the people. So we just went to a presentation at the Algoma University, Geraldine and I, last week, where students from all over the world had to do a presentation on what they thought of Chief Shingwak's vision.
Mm-hmm. Now, we have 4 of you here today, but how big is your family?
Now, it's Edith, Gail.
Well, wait, no, there's 9. Nine left, 9. There's,
How many originally?
There was 12 of us. There was 9 girls and 3 boys. And then 3 of our sisters died, so there's now 6 sisters, and the 3 brothers are still living. And our parents had 60 grandkids, 120 great-grandkids, and I don't know how many, over 100 great-great-grandkids. So we have a large, large family.
Were you all living in the same house at some point?
When there was 12 of us, yeah. They didn't separate us.
Yeah.
A lot of kids were put into Shingwak or sent to Shingwak school. Our parents wouldn't part with us for anything in the world, so they made sure that we all were at home. We had a big house. We had 4 rooms downstairs, 4 rooms upstairs after the first house built and burnt, and then they built another one. So we all managed.
Dan, what was it like growing up with all those girls in the house?
He was spoiled.
I suppose, yeah.
What did your parent, or what did your father do as far as working, and how did he support the family?
He worked in Detroit for quite a while, and he worked in, different places. My dad only had 1 arm, but they were brushing the power line here back in 1968, the new power line, and he was working alone, and there was guys with power saws, 2 guys, and the scaler couldn't believe it. He'd do just as much as 2 men with 1 arm. But he was very smart. He'd look where all the trees was landing, and that's where he'd make the fire over there, where the other guys knock him anyway, and haul and brush all day. And
Wow. Now, your ancestry is with the Crane clan. Can you tell me what is that Crane clan?
Well, that's how Chief Shingwak signed his name. He was chief of the Ojibwe Nation. He went from coast to coast. The waters were never surrendered, but the government is stealing that on us.
So that's where the Crane clan came from?
Well, he signed his name with a crane.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
I see.
picture of a crane.
Wow. Do you remember Chief Shingwak?
No. He died in 1867.
Wow. Let's go back when you were kids growing up. What were some of the things you would do, like in the summertime around here when you were growing up?
We all had to work. We all had to plant gardens. Our parents had big gardens. So we all worked at helping to plant gardens. We all worked at washing clothes on the washboard, hanging them out on the line.
Milking cows. We
No
milking
Electricity yet on the reserve.
No, but our parents made sure that we all worked, and where maybe other kids are out playing, we played, but we
After the work
was done.
What about in the winter months? What would you do?
Go to camp.
And where was camp, and what would you do at camp?
Camp was back in Echo River.
Yeah.
And we would all, Dan was always just like my dad's right arm that he lost, in a hunt. My dad was in a hunting accident. So Dan always worked with my dad. Her and I would go up the bush and we'd help with the crosscut saw to cut logs.
Yeah.
And we all knew how to shovel, cut logs, bring in wood, cook, make fire, haul water. We were all raised like that.
So the men wouldn't have to come back to the camp for dinner. We would take dinner and make a fire and heat it all up.
Oh, wow. So at the camp, that was a big business, logging then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was not like a business. It was more a family. Like every family had their own camp years ago, and they would go to camp wherever the logs were. Horses, they'd have their teams of horses. And so our camp was in that area, and different ones would come with the sleigh and visit us in our camp. Other families would come with the horses and the sleighs and visit in our camp. And then that's it. We'd be there working, helping, and our mom would make sure that we sat down at the table and did our schoolwork, because she'd pick up the schoolwork here in Garden River and take it into camp and bring it back out, have it checked. And
What would you use the logs for?
We sold them to a guy that had a mill, and they'd dump them in the Echo River and take them down to the mill that was in Echo Bay. I guess hemlock was worth about $12 a thousand, and pine about 18. That was the biggest paying price with us.
And veneer?
And birch about $9 a thousand.
that birch wasn't.
Did Jerry get it?
That wasn't valuable until 1952, 54, somewhere.
48.
48.
So you remember the log run? Was there log runs down the Garden River?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I used to come down the drive there in the garden.
He worked on the drive. We were so proud of him.
You ever see people with rubber rafts going down I rode logs down there. Break a jam and down you go. You'd be standing on a log. If you hit a rock, and you hear all the guys hollering up there wishing you to fall in.
Yeah. Wow.
But you know, the government had taken a lot of work away from the native people, because years ago, all the people, like all the men around here, went firefighting, and they would go guiding, you know, tourists. They'd get jobs guiding tourists and all that. And then after a while, you know, the Flans and Fours wouldn't pick up any of our guys here. They had to take.
They raised the wages. When the wages were small, if you didn't go in the fire, you go to court and you went to jail. So then when they raised the wages, they never come back and got nobody else here.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about school? What was school like when you were growing up down here?
Well, we had a good public school, of course, and then when it came, yeah, the separate school too, and then when it came to going to high school, well, then my mother board. What do you call this when you board you out? Yeah, board you out, like at one of a person that she knew, and so that's how I got some of my high school. It wasn't all of it, just a couple of years. Then I got the other 2 years in Superior, Duluth, Minnesota. Yeah.
What about the public school or the elementary school down there? Was it a big school or was it a...
One room. That's the one I went to.
There was no kindergarten. You just started from grade 1 and to grade 8. And we all went there. In fact, one year, like, you know how cold it was now? One year we were outside playing in recess time, and I stuck my tongue on that,
Yeah.
what do you call that, fence? And
Yeah, the
I
fence, couldn't get it off. We had to get the teacher to come out with warm water and pour it on.
Oh, yeah. I'd done that.
What about the church down here? Was that a big part of the community as well? The church down
It
here?
was, yeah.
Like we're St. John's Anglican, and that's been, oh gosh, that's been here for
well, at
1832.
1832.
Christmas time, we used to go to church on the horses. Like they'd have the bells on the horses all ringing, and we'd be on the sleigh and singing jingle bells and everything, going to church, and it was really nice. Yeah.
Now, has the church changed down here over the years?
Well, the church is still there.
Yeah, the church is still there, and we go every Sunday, but it's very low in people like coming out. Yeah, I guess they find it maybe a little harder or whatever.
Lana's the pastor there now, her daughter.
Well, she
Yeah.
is the pastor, and then we do have a minister that comes down for communion because she's not able to give us communion.
Right.
Yeah, there used to be resident ministers that lived here in the community and raised their families in the community. Sorry.
Closer.
Yeah, that was really nice too.
Yeah.
You know.
But we sing our Ojibwe hymns. We have a tape we have our own tapes.
Now, I'm told that you were singers actually in the early days where you would actually go out and sing
Oh, yeah.
professionally?
Yeah, we did. My sister Gertie and I, we sang on the radio in Superior, Wisconsin, and of course here with
The Northern
yeah,
Airs.
Don Ramsey, but name the other fellow baby.
Freddie Kent, right?
Well, Freddie Kent was getting started too. Yeah.
Bill
Oh,
Hayes.
they were
Manager
nice.
was
Yes.
Basil
Yeah.
Scully.
Nice. Yeah, Basil Scully.
Oh,
That's
yes.
who the manager was. At that.
Wow.
It was,
CGIC.
yeah, it was good. Yeah.
They would sing at the old Gowan Street Arena for the soldiers. And
Yeah, yeah.
Well, tell me more about that. So you would sing for the soldiers?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, lots. You know, the army, like the Second World War, you know, was, and so it was nice, you know, to be able to do that. And of course, I'm just trying to think. There was quite a good selection of people that entertained, you know. Yeah, and so we were chosen for one, you know, to be on that too.
Yeah. When you're thinking back when you were growing up then and now, what do you think have been some of the biggest changes that have happened here since you were kids to where you are right now? What are some of the biggest things that have changed as far as the community is concerned?
Well, people are not like they were years ago when anybody went out and got like moose or fish or anything. It was all given away. Now people don't do that. It's just yourself. Like they don't share like they used to share,
Yeah, they used to share.
and people don't visit anymore.
And you don't even get to know your neighbors.
Have a lot of the people you know moved out of the area, or as the families grow up, have they moved away?
Moved away or moved to different areas.
Well, they moved to different areas, but they come back. Betty lived in Sault Ste. Marie almost all of her after she married. She moved
I
to
lived in Toronto for 38 years.
Our oldest sister lived in Toronto. Our young sister that got killed here in a car accident, she was living in Timmins. She was married to a Ludit, who's the minister. His dad was the minister up in Moose Factory. So then she lived up there for a while. But other than that, the rest of us pretty well lived around here.
We hear different stories about residential schools, but you're saying you weren't.
No.
You didn't.
Well,
She
I
went
was,
there, yeah.
because you had to. There was no high school or anything. So, so my dad at the time was working in Detroit at a war plant. And so then, like my mother, like not knowing of his experience, you know, being in the Shingwalk as a child, like, you know, well, then she signed me in because you had to go to school. And but when he came home from Detroit, just more or less like he didn't leave his job, he just came home, eh? Well, then he went to the, what do you call? He went to the
Indian agent.
Yeah, Indian agent, that's it. Went to the Indian agent, and because really, I mean, that wasn't the place to be. Like I got pleurisy there. I was in a tuberculosis sanatorium after that, and because there was never enough to eat. You would get one like that, say a carrot, okay, maybe about that size. You'd get that chopped up. You'd get a potato chopped in 4, and you'd get just like a soup, like it wasn't gravy, and then you'd get your slice of bread, and it was bread that was made by the people that were cooking, you know, and then you get your slice of bread. Excuse me. And then for dessert, you'd have syrup and maybe another, whatever, half a slice of bread or whatever they had to get rid of, you know what I mean, use up. Yeah.
How long were you there?
Oh, when my dad came home, I was there, let me see, like all that fall and through the winter. And then when my dad came from Detroit, from that factory, when he heard that I was in there, he came right to the school. He says, "You're not staying here." He says, "Another day." And he went into the principal's office
And I don't know if we still have that picture, but the principal is standing there and my dad is here. And he says, listen, he said, another 2, 3 more steps. He says, and you'll wish you'd never been on them steps. So he said, this is my daughter. She's not your daughter. He says, and I'm getting her out of here.
Did you have other friends too that were there at the time?
Oh, I did. Not from home though, but other, like say there was people from Walpole Island. Yeah.
Yeah, there was quite a few mom
Quite a
from the
lot.
community.
Yeah, there were, like who was it though?
Elva.
Oh, wait a minute,
Solomon.
Elva.
Neighbors, Elva.
Solomons and Hilda, remember
Yeah, Hilda.
Pine.
She's my relation, Hilda.
Her and her
And
siblings.
her and Gladys
Mary.
and Doris.
Doris, yeah. Yeah, and there was a lot of the Solomons went there. Some of the other children from here too that were Catholic went to the Spanish residential school. I don't know what it's, I can't remember the name of it, but they went there. So quite a few of the children in this age group did go to residential school.
You talked a little bit about Sugar. You mentioned Sugar Island a couple of times. Was Sugar Island a big part of what, when you were growing up, of where you would go and what you would do?
Friends.
Right there. You
It's
just
right there.
Yeah, and that's where our mother lived, there on Sugar Island with her dad.
You could run from our place with a sleigh, get on the sleigh, and you'd end up right at the store in Sugar Island. Or we'd have to go and get maybe a jar of jam or peanut butter, and away we'd go.
I guess in those days, the fact that's the United States didn't matter back
No.
and forth.
We had a path right across, and my uncle put little trees so we wouldn't get off the path, you know? Yeah.
And then we used to steal the boat, and we'd be going across, and the dog would go home and tell my mother we'd bark in there and run to the.
And then there they used to have dances every Saturday night, so we could go over there and party. And then, of course, the young kids tried to smoke. We could get cigarettes for 15 cents a package, and we'd put all our pennies or nickels together, and hey, we'd be just out there puffing our heads off because nobody wanted to take the cigarettes home, because if you got caught with it,
What other things did you do when you were growing up for entertainment? How did you?
Oh my gosh, there was lots of entertainment around here. Everybody, he played the fiddle, different people played the violin. You'd just go to somebody's house and they'd move the table and everything and start playing. They played guitars, they
square
had pianos,
dance.
square dance, step dance, all kinds of entertainment here. We were never short for entertainment. But the one thing we could, nobody got married on a Saturday because there was no way you could dance after 12 o'clock here in Garden River because the next day was the Sabbath day. Oh yeah, 12 o'clock, no dances.
And you couldn't touch a guitar, touch a fiddle, a piano, or anything during Lent.
and you couldn't even play cards on Sunday. No way. Or say if you had a little tear in your blouse and you, oh, I wanted to wear that blouse. No, you don't sew on Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Dan, you were telling me a story about the mountain behind us. We can't see your.
Yeah, that's all marble on this. I don't know how far back it goes, but the whole thing, the whole just that gray marble with the black stripes on it.
And what did they do with that?
Well, they started to mine it, and they were shipping the stuff to England, and they never paid for it to take it out of here. So they chased them out and took the track out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
You can still see where, just down here a little ways, you can still see where the track went in there.
Wow. When you think about the young people who are growing up now, do you have advice for them about what would be your advice?
Kids, like our kids, I always say, like if you had to survive, would you know what to do out there? No. And well, different things we done,
Well,
right?
my advice to kids is go outside and play, get some fresh air,
Yeah,
like learn how to play outside. We'd have hide and go seek. We'd have.
Oh, I know.
That's
Look at there,
awful.
yeah.
You know,
A house
make
going
sure,
on and a computer in front of them.
you know,
We
stay in
used to
school.
go down and shovel, make a big rink in the river, and we'd skate down
Skate,
there.
yeah. We used to go to the boxcars and get that sponge stuff.
Packing there with grease in it and light them up and put them all around the rink.
All around the rink, and it would be lit for
Like
3
on
hours.
The river bank, not a rink, but out on the river. They'd stick them sticks in there and light them up, and we'd have all nice light.
Well, that's where the boats went by out here when we were kids, but in 1950 they dredged that new channel on the other side of the island.
Mm-hmm.
But we
Well,
had
that island belongs to Garden River Band. And so did St. Joe's Island, but the United States traded St. Joe's Island to Sugar Island for, so they wanted Sugar Island. So that's how where they had no business to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But they just done everything they wanted.
What's happened with tradition? Do you think you've lost some of your tradition over the years down here? Some of the traditional things, and when the kids are growing up now, do they understand the traditions of your ancestry?
no. Actually, you know, if they say that well, they've paid off children that went to the residential schools. Well, what about us that stayed in the Garden River, like say our reserve here, and went to school? We didn't have any native teachers here. We didn't speak our language. There was no native teachers. We lost all that. They should have had like now they have native teachers in the schools, but they're starting with the younger kids. But if the parents don't know how to speak it at home, it's really not helping the younger kids the way it should. Although they are getting some of their native language, but because it's been lost, I don't know if we'll ever get it back.
Are there still traditional things that happen within your
yes.
family?
Yeah, we have like a lot of traditional things. We have our fires. Like we have, you know, when our families are sick, whatever, we make our fire. We all meet. We pray and put our tobacco down, and you know, ask for healing and all that. Yeah, we combine it with the Christian religion.
You talked about the fact that you have a very large family. Yeah. You're growing up. But you have an annual family reunion, is
yes.
it? And what happens there?
Oh, everything. We have music, we have games, we have tug of wars. We make the kids get involved right from the little ones, and you know, different ages will go in for a tug of war. We have meals. We'll have like
Everybody shares food.
Yeah, we make soup, and who wants to try this one soup and that, or chili, or scone, or fried scone, and all that. And then we like last year we had a Hawaiian was our theme, so everybody built little bars with Hawaiian stuff, and we had our leis and everything on. And then one year
that doesn't sound very traditional.
No, but we try to get the kids all involved in doing different things.
It was because of their mom. She loved anything Hawaiian. So it was kind of in her memory.
Oh, my mother, she would have loved to have went to Hawaii.
She used to play ukulele and sing to us when we were kids. Yeah.
We all, even though we had a big family, we always had a piano in our home, a violin, a guitar, and nobody, not one of our family had taken any kind of music lessons. It was all by ear.
All by ear.
So music was a big part of the family.
Oh, yes, yeah.
What about, how many people would you have attend your annual family?
About 350. You can come down next year if you are. This year, I should say, July. You're all welcome to come down and see what we do.
And her boy has his own airplane. So he said, okay, I want you to all line up and print the name Pine with all the bodies. That's what we done, and he went up and took a picture.
And the picture come out with Pine across all. We got it made big at the Walmart, so we have that.
Now my cousin has a very large yard. Like it's not even a yard really. We don't think of the property as yards. It's just like, you know, where he lives. It's right on the water, just up the road here. They call that French Bay. So he lives on the water. There, and it's just like a big park. And a lot of my cousins, especially the ones that live out of town now, they camp there for the whole, 3, 4, 5 days. And it's just huge.
I think last year they had 24 trailers.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And they we do a lot of things there, but the biggest thing we do is try and get to know all the kids and their names, and because a lot of our kids, especially the ones that don't live here, they don't know all their relations, you know. So we're just trying to. This will be about our 5th one.
I think so. Yeah.
So we just thought it was important that we should know who our relations are.
You talked about music, but you also talked about food and the fact you had a really big garden. But back, I guess, in the early days, you wouldn't have refrigerators. So what would you use for taking care of fruit?
We had a root house, and then we had a cement pantry. My grandma used to put stuff in there in the shelf. Remember that? Yeah.
Or they would dig a hole in the ground and put a big.
Down where the pump was.
Yeah, and then you'd put your butter and stuff in there, eh? Cover it.
Someone told me you used to dry stuff up and even up in the attic.
Well,
Like maybe corn or something.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did. Yeah, because
Hazelnuts.
there was a lot of, corn, you know, that hominy corn? That was like,
Yeah, he's gathered lots of
everybody
berries
loved
and
that.
high bush cranberries, eh, Uncle?
No,
Oh, yeah.
who eats hominy corn now?
I just had some. I made chicken
Did you?
soup the other day, and I put hominy corn in.
Good.
What
for
about
you.
hunting and fishing? When you were growing up, was that?
Yeah, I done a lot of hunting, but as the years went by, I see deer, but I can't shoot them.
I want you to tell us the story about the circus train.
The circus train, well, it went down and it tipped over in Asbestos.
When was that?
In around 19, I guess it's either 40 or 41 or 39. I know I must have been about 7, 8, 9 years old then.
So tell us what happened.
Well, all the animals got away. And they never went to look for them. Nobody looked for them. They just put the train up and that was it.
So did they ever see the animals again?
Well, I see them different times. I've never seen the Black Panther, but my son's seen them crossing up here by Road River. And just 2 weeks ago, when they were on, my grandson is autistic. He was on top of his garbage box. He's about that big. Yeah.
So that
It
was
was very dangerous for kids, you know. If I don't know, I wouldn't like to shoot them, but I'd like to maybe stun them and put them in a thing and send them up to that zoo up here in the Sault.
But did you depend a lot in the early days on hunting and fishing for your food in addition to your gardens and that type of thing?
Well, we used to kill, my dad would kill about 3 deer in the fall. Or else maybe the best, if you ever had a moose in the spring, you wouldn't want to kill one in the fall to eat them.
Yeah.
They're terrible tasting in the fall.
What about the river? I mean, you're right on the river. Did you do lots
We
of
used to
fishing?
fish. When the river drives used to come down, there was more fish in that river than you would ever want to imagine.
When the log drives?
And after they said that in the environment, it's no good for logs to come down, there's no more fish, hardly any fish up there.
Wow.
And they planted these big salmon, and they're eating all the pickerel eggs, eating the trout eggs, and I figure in about another 10, 12 years, that's going to be extinct pickerel, and trout is going to be extinct and all over.
Wow. Did you do any commercial fishing, or was it just?
Just for our own use. Yeah.
Our dad would never kill nothing unless it was to feed our family.
Mm-hmm.
And we had like beef. They'd do a cow in the fall and
we
maybe
had.
2 pigs. That was our winter meat.
So you'd have a farm with chickens?
Yeah, we had a lot of chickens, maybe 200 at a time.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
we had 2 uncles and a grandma, you know, and we all lived in the one big house. Yeah, so there was lots of.
Yeah, my grandma was
people.
98 years old, and she was going out to feed the pig, and she was kind of blind, and she fell in a hole and broke her hip. So she only lasted from November, December, 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
She wouldn't go to hospital. She said, "I'm too old."
At 98.
Yeah, and yet before she fell in that hole, she was cooking, making bread and everything, and
Wow.
she was very.
And she was the doctor. She had a horse. Anybody have a baby, she'd be gone 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, wow. You mentioned too with logging that it wasn't logging with logging trucks, it was with horses.
With horses, yeah, you'd put about maybe 5, 6 logs on a sleigh, 7 logs. You'd go down, you'd make about 2 trips a day. logging all over, cutting here and there off the side of the mountain. They'd take and they'd rub all that down and make a place where you can go up like this instead of straight down, you know.
Wow. Well, it sounds like you had a wonderful life.
We did.
We had a wonderful life. We had a very, very loving family. Our parents loved us to death. You know, they just, there was just nothing like their family. And we were all raised like that, to love one another.
My first year at school, there was no road plowed to go to town. You had to come out and catch the train. And I think that was about, I don't know, 25 cents or something to get to town, and you'd go shopping, catch a train back down again. They had a station here.
Wow.
And this area up here was all like blueberries. We used to take, Mom would make us a lunch, and we'd come up here with our basket, fill the basket, take it back home, and sell it for $2. And that was a new pair of jeans.
We had to pick berries in the summertime, and we had to plant the garden in the spring, and we had to help take care of it all summer, and we had to, you know, in the fall when they dig up all the potatoes and everything, and we were always there to help with everything. And then every evening there, our mom in the summertime would take us, because there was no bathrooms, take us all down to the river, and we'd swim and wash us up and everything. And then in the wintertime, there was a big wash tub there full of water, and then they'd start with the baby, wash everybody up, and and we hauled water. We hauled water.
Then there was times when on a Saturday night after my dad got a truck, a little half-ton truck, she'd take us all to the steam bath on Albert Street.
Well, we never had washrooms inside or stuff like that till 1970. Mm-hmm. But we paid taxes for over 150 years and never got nothing here.
Mm-hmm. And then when the highway came through?
When the highway came through in 1939, I think it was 1939 or 40, the soldiers marched. They kept the road open. That's from before that, there was never any road open in the winter. We'd see the guys coming from Echo Bay with a great big load of meat going up with horses.
No, so when the road came through, that must have been a big change in the community?
It was, yeah.
What kind of things happened once the road came in?
We didn't really change that much. No. It's just that you'd see a car every once in a while.
Well,
about every 3-4 hours.
When we were kids, you know, we lived down by the river down there, and we come up by the log building. It used to be the corner. They used to call that. So we'd sit under the tree, and we sat there all afternoon. We counted 30 cars. I suppose some went down and for a ride and went back, and we thought that was an awful lot of cars. Wasn't that?
Yeah. Then I remember when our grandma died, and then they had to bring a casket down, and and then the horses met it on the highway, and they took care of our own people here. They washed them up and dressed them up and did everything, and then put them in the casket and used the horses and everything to take them to the graveyard in the wintertime, dig the grave by hand.
But back when I was about 7, 8 years old, my uncle used to make the coffin. Then they'd take this gray cloth up, and the woman would come and finish it off with thumbtacks all over and on the top of the box. And
oh, wow.
They made it like this and across.
And they would when somebody died in the community, like in our families there, as soon as that person died, they'd get word, they'd come over and they'd start singing the Ojibwe hymns. Didn't matter what time it was, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
You sing them home. Mm-hmm. So they don't get lost.
Charlie was our lead singer. Charlie Pine.
Yeah. Oh, and then we were such like a bigger family. And my mom would say, okay, you're not going to school today. You're going to go over, they lost somebody in the family. You're going to go over and help clean the house and do up the dishes. And
then they'd put a sheet. She'd send sheets. They'd put a sheet there in the back, you know, and then one over like this, so that's where the casket would be. The sheet would be in the back, and then one over on the ceiling. So
the funeral service would be at home?
No, we would take them to church. But the wakes, you had to have a wake 3 nights.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
To
then
see
12,
if they would breathe.
well, I don't know what it was. It was 3 nights anyway.
Yeah.
And then 12 o'clock midnight, you'd set the table, and that would be the feast every night at 12 o'clock. And this person that died at the head of the table, the dish would be turned upside down. And then the elderly, the ones that were singing, would sit first. And then right down to the kids, and they would come, and then the next ones would sit and they'd eat, and then the next ones till they fed everybody. 12 o'clock midnight.
And there was some very scary things happened too. When my Uncle Alec died, I was sitting here, and then my uncle was here, my Uncle John, and my mother, and my cousin Dick, and another guy by the name of George Whiteloon. He was there. We were sitting there about 4 o'clock in the morning. All of a sudden, I heard my mother, Dick, Dick. We could see him coming up, and he's coughing. Well, say, I couldn't have moved like nothing. And Dick was just, nobody could move. My uncle seen that, he jumped up, went up there and pushed him back down.
But you know what they said?
I could feel my hair coming
They
up
said
back
the
of my head.
shavings swelled up like the shavings
No,
under
the way he laid all the time, he's you know, he had a back problem, and his knees were almost touching his, and I guess the cords maybe pulled him back. I don't know how it worked, but he sat up and was coughing anyway, but he was dead.
Till 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh.
Yeah.
I want to thank all of you, and I want you to all have a long life.
Well,
And we want to hear more about pines.
we're hoping that we have a long life, because our grandma lived to be 98. Our dad was 92. A lot of my dad's brothers and that, they were in their late 80s and early 90s, and so hopefully, the good Lord willing, that we might see a few of those years. I don't know.
Why do you think they live so long?
Well, I think it's the food that they ate, and like everything now is, you don't even know what you're eating. Like even chickens, the chickens used to lay 1 egg a day. Now they have them laying 2-3 eggs a day, and they're always pouring chemicals on things to make. I don't know if they make it to grow faster, or if there's so much pollution in the air that they have to do that.
Go faster. You very seldom seen a tall guy, you know.
And not
Today,
only.
the kids are 7 feet, 6 feet.
Well, the thing is, too, when babies were born, they were 6 pounds, 7 pounds. Now they're 10 and 12 pounds. That's because of what they eat, what's out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you never had babies 10 and 12 pounds years ago. They were just little babies, 6, 7 pounds. And a lot of the babies, there was midwives like around here too, like delivered babies and that years ago. But no, they're just, I think it's all in the food and in the air, and too much. Many of our people are diabetics, not only Native people now. At least before they used to say, oh, there's a lot of Native people that are diabetics. Now it's all over. And cancer is that's just like almost like a dirty word. Like, oh my God, they got cancer, you know. We never, why didn't our ancestors have cancer? Why did they live to be 90, 80, 90 years old? Because of the food and the my dad said man will kill himself. And sure enough, today, look at all the pollution in the air.
Well, I hope to get an invitation to your 98th.
Well, you'll be there, because you'll be what, 97?
There was an old guy that lived with his niece, and they lived just before you get to the bridge. And the store used to be down at that far corner. And he used to walk down there every day to get a plug of chewing tobacco, because he chewed, and he was 106 years old. Yeah.
Well,
Two of my dad's brothers, when they were living, walked from the community center where the log building is down to Ojibwe Park every day and clean the highway along. They walked down there almost every day and clean
They
that.
used to keep that pine grove, it was just like a park, you know, all nice grass in there. But today it's all grown up, and the trees are dying. I've been telling them there, you should get a grant, try to get a grant from the Historical Society to fix that up the way it used to be.
Well, today it is almost like the garbage dump around here, because they stop and get Tim Hortons coffee, they get McDonald's lunch, and all the papers are along the highway here, so we have to keep this clean.
Yeah.
And another thing that people don't know is at Christmas time, I don't know if it's only in Sault Ste. Marie, but the surrounding communities, their kids all get little dogs for Christmas. And by the time springtime now, you'll see dogs running here on the road, and they say, "Oh, them dogs in Garden River are running on the road." Those ain't even our dogs. They're dogs thrown out because now they've grown up since Christmas and families don't want them. So they just dropped them off along here.
Mm-hmm. That's terrible. Some of them are skinny.
Yeah.
You know, you always got to feed the animals first before you eat yourself. Because they're dumb and they don't know nothing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They
well,
can't,
they know lots, but
they can't ask for a bite to eat, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for inviting us into your home.
Well, I don't know if we were of any help or whatever, or if it's just, you know, but
You've given us some interesting historical.
yeah, but we'd like you all to come down to our family reunion. We're having it in
Yeah.
July.
Yeah, somebody leave their name and
Right. And you could even come down and tape our reunion if you
You
want
can
and
come
see
down
what we do.
sometime and I'll show you a lot of medicine,
He picks medicine.
what it's good for.
Do you still use herbs and
Yep.
he does.
I make medicine for people all over in United States, Canada, Montreal, Toronto.
He has a purelator coming in 3-4 times a day, picking up his medicine.
and this is all from
Yeah. I got the only medicine that'll cure bone cancer. And I if you got a sore back, I can boil you up some bloodroot. You drink about this much in a cup, and tomorrow morning you won't have no sore back. After 4 hours, that's about all it takes.
wow.
A lot of
And if you
people.
got a sore throat, there's a very hot root. I don't know what they call it in English, but they call it weekend Indian. You just suck on that for about 15 minutes, no more sore throat.
So no wonder you're living to 98.
It's, yeah, so we're going to live to be 108, I think.
If you got gout, well, we called them frog leaves, but we used to call them, but their name,
Plantain.
plantain. You just fill up your sock with them 2 times and it's gone.
I'm gonna go home and try this.
Yeah, come on down sometime.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jimmy Gretsch.
Yeah, Chumigwech. Gaby Jean. Thank you for coming.
Bijakin Noah, come again.